Hi guys, I'm Cash, and I recently switched from Holy Priest to Preservation Evoker, and I won't lie, at first it was a struggle. There's just so much depth to this class. On the surface it seems pretty simple, but I've been busy teaching myself all the cool combinations, and I want to share them with you. So there are loads of beginner guides out there, so in this guide I'm just going to focus on showing you the interactions between spells and talents so you can tear it up in Mythic Plus. So if your head is a little bit all over the place with Preservation Evoker, I've sort of broken the spells down into 4 categories, and that is your empowered spells, cooldowns, which there are a lot of cooldowns for Preservation Evoker, your essence spenders, and your single target spells. And so starting off with Spirit Bloom, if you just use it at rank 1, it is a big single target heal, and the longer you empower it, the more people it hits. This is very, very strong. I use it a lot with Tip the Scales, just to get out some really big heals very quickly. Next up, we've got Dream Breath, which heals in a cone in front of you with a 30-yard range. The difference with this empower level is that no matter how long you empower it for, it will heal for the same amount overall. So the longer you empower it, the bigger the initial hit, and the smaller the hot. Whereas if you use it at a low level like rank 1 or rank 2, it will put out a small to moderate heal followed by a much stronger hot. Because of this, I tend to use it at a low ranked empowerment level, unless I really need to get some big healing out there. And then your DPS empowerment is Fire Breath, and it works exactly the same as Dream Breath. It is a fire damage cone in front of you with a range of 30 yards. The big difference here is that I would always use this at the full empowerment, whether that's rank 3 or rank 4, and you'll find out why when we get into the interactions part of this guide. The next grouping of your abilities are cooldowns. This includes Rewind, which is incredibly strong. You can spec into it to make it a 3-minute cooldown or to have 2 charges. You've got Stasis, which takes a little while to wrap your head around, but once you get the hang of it, is super good. I actually don't have much use for it at the moment since we're still doing M0s, but I can see how powerful it's going to be in Mythic Plus. Time Dilation is a great way to delay some incoming damage, so if you think about it as instead of your tank taking 100,000 damage up front, they're going to take a dot that ticks for 10k damage for the next 10 seconds. That's the easiest way to think about it if you're not sure how Time Dilation works. Emerald Communion we've already talked about. Great button either to heal yourself or your group. Tip the Scales is another one that I use frequently. Don't forget to press this button. You can use it with Fire Breath, you can use it with Dream Breath, you can use it for Spirit Bloom. I would say that I primarily use it for Spirit Bloom, but you can absolutely use it for Fire Breath if your group is safe, or if you're planning to use one of the combinations that I'm going to show you at the end of this guide. And I've included Cauterizing Flame. It's not really a healing cooldown, but it is a great purge for poison, bleed, disease, and curse. It's available every 1 minute, so extremely powerful. Absolutely love taking this. Next up, you got your Essence Spenders. You got Echo, which is incredibly important as a Preservation Evoker, heavily used in the interactions between spells. Disintegrate, which I love using. I've actually taken the talent that gives it a 20% buff and returns mana to me because that's how often I use it. And then Emerald Blossom, which, as I've said, not a big fan of for M+, but it has its uses. I would say I primarily use it for Echo, followed by Disintegrate. And then your single target spells like Verdant Embrace, which is very, very strong, Reversion, which has so many fun applications, and you've got Living Flame, which can be used either as a heal or a DPS. You really want to be using it as a filler so you can gain the Essence Burst buff, but on top of that there are a few ways that you can use it in combination with other things. Let me show you now. So one of the first interactions we're going to cover is Dream Breath. This is one of my favorite spells. I just love its little animation. The first one's pretty simple. It's just applying Echo to a target and then Dream Breath. What a lot of people aren't aware of is that if you echo a target and they're within your 30-yard range of your Dream Breath cone, then they will receive double the healing and also double the hot. The second interaction is actually way more interesting. If someone is standing out of your range or perhaps behind you, you can apply Echo to them and they will receive both the initial heal and the hot, even if they're not in range. I love using it this way because people are not always positioning themselves correctly, or maybe I've moved forward, and this way I can just make sure that I'm getting the most out of my Dream Breath. Taking a quick look at the details breakdown, you can see that Dream Breath has had 50 hits and healed for just over 260k. Remember that because we're about to have a look at the next interaction. The next Dream Breath interaction requires you to take a talent in your preservation tree called Call of Ysera. This is an excellent talent, meaning that when you use Verdant Embrace, your next Dream Breath is buffed by 40% or your next Living Flame by 100%. So using that with Dream Breath will mean that your Dream Breath healing, regardless of how you empower it, is buffed by 40%. So let me use my test dummy over here with Tuna. I'm going to Verdant Embrace onto him, and you can see up here that I have the Call of Ysera buff. So now I'm just going to Dream Breath empowered to 1 level like before, and once all these hots tick down, we'll have a quick look at the healing meters. So with the healing meters, we can see Dream Breath at the top has healed for 338k, which is a significant improvement, but we can also see that it has still hit 50 targets, so I've not hit anyone extra, and we've done quite a bit more healing with that Verdant Embrace buff. And so of course the final interaction here is to combine it all together. Verdant Embrace onto someone, throw out an Echo, then a Dream Breath, and that way you're going to get a 40% buff to your Dream Breath, and you've either doubled up your Dream Breath, initial heal, and hot onto one target, or you've reached someone who's out of range. With this example here, I've just used Verdant Embrace on myself, and you can see that Tuna is behind me, so he would have 100% missed out on that Dream Breath, but by putting Echo on him, that means that he has actually received the initial heal and the hot from my Dream Breath, even though he's behind me. Now we'll look into some of the combinations you can use with Reversion and Echo. This is probably the most simple one and the easiest to use. First up, if you put Echo on one target and Reversion on another, you're going to replicate that hot onto both targets. Pretty straightforward. Now, if you spec into Golden Hour, which is something I highly recommend, Reversion instantly heals the target for 15% of the damage they took in the last 5 seconds. In other words, it reverts or reverses 15% of the damage they just took. This is extremely powerful, and when you start combining it with Echo, you're going to see Reversion jump up higher on your healing meters. So if you cast Echo on one target, Reversion on the other, you're going to immediately reverse 15% of damage taken by both targets. The hot is also replicated. This is a very easy way to just target 2 or 3 people at once and reverse 15% of their damage and apply a hot. So taking a look at this is pretty straightforward. I put Echo on Tuna and Reversion on myself, and we both get the Reversion hot. You'll notice that my temporal compression buff is only at 2, so unfortunately that doesn't stack with Echo. And the final combination for Reversion is also pretty straightforward, except this time you're going to place Echo on one target and Reversion on that same target. This doubles the Golden Hour effect, meaning that you will reverse 30% of damage taken by that one target. This is very cool. You can use this on your tank if they have taken damage unexpectedly, or just if someone else has taken damage unexpectedly. One of our big cooldowns is time dilation, but that does need to be used before the damage comes out, and this is just a great way to quickly correct a problem. So putting this into action is quite straightforward. I just put Echo on Tuna followed by Reversion, and you'll see that he has the Reversion buff twice. And if you need an alternative way to heal back some unexpected AoE damage, you can put out a couple of Echoes onto your group and then a Reversion. So I put one on Tuna, one on myself, one on this training dummy, you can see down here, and then I put Reversion onto a different training dummy. So I've got 4 Reversion hots out at the moment, and I've reversed 15% of 4 people's damage. It's pretty good. One of the most slept on talents in the preservation tree is Lifebind. Now Lifebind is a little bit complicated. It's a buff that only lasts for 5 seconds, and it essentially replicates 40% of healing that you cast either on yourself or on the person that you just used Verdant Embrace on. So it happens automatically with Verdant Embrace, and you can then immediately pair it with a Spirit Bloom, a Dream Breath, or even a Living Flame if you have to. And what this means is that by spending no essence, meaning you're not casting Echo, you are replicating 40% of healing between yourself and someone else. It's obviously not as strong as Echo, but it's still pretty good. Now I found this a little bit difficult to demonstrate, but I'm going to give it a go. So I Verdant Embrace onto this training dummy, and I have the Lifebind effect. I'm going to cast a rank 1 Spirit Bloom, and we'll have a look at the healing meters in a second. Obviously Spirit Bloom is going to heal for quite a lot, and we're still getting that Verdant Embrace heal. But the main thing we're looking at here and taking note of is Lifebind. Lifebind healed for about 40% of the Spirit Bloom at just under 33k. Now remember that, because let me show you a different combo. Now how do we make Lifebind better? Obviously we pair it with Echoes. If you throw out 2 or 3 Echoes onto your group and then Verdant Embrace, all of those people get that 40% replicated healing. It's essentially like one big group hug. You can then also cast something else immediately after, like a Spirit Bloom or a Dream Breath, for even more healing. If you want to see it in action, have a look down here. You can see that I am casting 1 Echo, 2 Echo, 3 Echo, and then Verdant Embrace. I throw in a Spirit Bloom for good measure, and now let's have a look at those healing meters. So the main thing we're going to have a look at here is Verdant Embrace. Look how much more it healed for, because it hit 4 people, not just 1. On top of that, Lifebind is massive. It has now jumped from just under 33k to 118,000. Let's call it just under 119k. The group hug is a great way to make the most of your Verdant Embrace, which on its own is a very powerful single target spell, but it doesn't have to be used that way. And so this final interaction is what makes Preservation Evoker so strong in Mythic Plus. Not only do we have the ability to burst damage, but our damage also heals the group. So in my opinion, you always want to empower your Fire Breath all the way to level 4, and that is because of the Leaping Flames talent. This talent causes your next Living Flame to strike an additional target per empower level you reach. So if you go all the way to level 4 and then hit Leaping Flames, you are actually going to strike 5 targets. This is very, very cool and definitely worth the extra time it takes to empower your Fire Breath. Okay, but how do we heal using burst damage? Totally easy. So you take your Fire Breath and you empower it to level 4, and then if you've taken the Life Giver's Flame, you need 2 points to get it to 80%, but it essentially means that you are also healing with your Fire Breath for 80% of damage done up to 5 targets. This is incredibly strong in Mythic Plus, and it works so well with the Leaping Flames talent. So once you empower it to level 4, you hit Living Flame, and you are getting 5 Living Flames. I've done a lot of testing, and this does seem to hit injured allies over DPS, so it just depends on what's happening with your group. You could end up with more healing from this ability than you could end up with DPS, but if everyone's on full health except maybe the tank, then you're going to find that 4 of your Living Flames go straight into damage, and 1 of them will hit onto the tank. So all I'm going to do here is empower my Flame Breath to level 4 and keep an eye on my damage and healing meters. Obviously the damage is going out, but when we look at the healing meters, you'll see that the Life Giver's Flame buff is already working. I also have the Leaping Flame buff, and so the next thing I'm going to cast is Living Flame. This is what I was talking about before. It does seem to prioritize targets that need healing, but if your party is full, it'll put DPS out instead. Now let's have a quick look at the healing meters. Life Giver's Flame did so much healing, and I wasn't even aiming it at anyone. And then having a look at the damage profile, of course Fire Breath does damage as well. And so before I wrap this up, I have just a few side notes that I'd like to mention. On Life Giver's Flame, it has been reworked to include the heal from 80% of damage from the dot, as well as the initial hit. So for some reason, if you do a rank 1 Fire Breath, please don't, but if for some reason you do, the heal from the Fire Breath will be 1 small heal followed by a lengthy hot. Living Flame should be your filler DPS in an attempt to get a proc of Essence Burst. This will give you a free Essence ability such as Disintegrate or Echo. If you cast Living Flame and then quickly apply an Echo to someone, the Living Flame you have already cast will replicate onto your Echo target. There is a delay due to the travel time of Living Flame, but you just have to be quick to apply that Echo. Temporal Compression doesn't proc with Echo, it only works on the individual bronze spell cast. This does include Echo itself, but not the bronze spell that it copies. So if you cast Echo followed by a Reversion, you'll have 2 stacks of Temporal Compression, not 3. I forgot to mention that Grace Period also stacks with Reversion alongside Golden Hour. So if you have put 2 points into Grace Period and you cast an Echo on a target, then a Reversion, they will have 2 Reversion hots, you've just undone 30% of the recent damage they've taken, and you increase their healing received by 20%. It's just such a ridiculously strong combination. Now unfortunately, the Call of Ysera buff does not stack with the Leaping Flames talent. This means that only the first Living Flame cast will be buffed by 100%, not the other Living Flames generated by the Leaping Flames talent. So overall, I think the play here is to use Echo with your single target spells, making the most of the Lifebind talent and the Golden Hour talent, rather than using Echo alongside your big cooldowns. I've gone through a lot of combos and interactions, hopefully you find them helpful for Mythic Plus. Let me know in the comments if you have any hot tips you'd like to share. Otherwise, if you have any questions, you can also just leave those in the comments and I'll keep an eye on them too. So that's it for now for combinations and interactions between preservation, evoker spells, and talents. I'm sure there'll be so much more to talk about once we get our tier sets and the Mythic Plus season is well underway. I plan to create way more content. I want to do advanced guides for every dungeon, as well as rating guides and the difference between talents and rotation for both Mythic Plus and Raid. So if you enjoyed this guide, please like and subscribe. Hit that notification button if you want to keep up to date with things. But yeah, I'm a fairly new YouTuber. I've been playing WoW for about 2.5 years, and I understand the learning curve. There's a lot of new people returning to the game at this time, so yeah, if you liked it, I'm definitely going to make more. Please follow along, and thanks for watching. Bye!